Welcome to one more inspiring episode of Humans of Sukhada. At Sukhada, we believe inspiration has no age limit. We celebrate individuals who continue to be committed, passionate, and fulfilled in life. Today at Humans of Sukhada, we have with us Dr. Shobna Bhatia, a senior doctor, a lifelong learner, and a woman who chose independence, passion, and service over societal expectations. Welcome to our show. We're so glad to have you here with us today, and we are sure the audience has a lot to learn from you. When you became a doctor, what was the one thing that inspired you into doing so?
Let me tell you, in school, I wasn't a very studious person. I loved to play. I liked my physics and maths a lot. So much so that I would take these little items at home like watches, and if they were spoiled, I'll open them, look at them, understand what was inside. And that was very interesting to do because that was physics. But sometime later, I met Dr. A.V. Mehta. He's no more, may he rest in peace. He was the one who inspired me. He was a family physician in our area. And his empathy, especially towards the mentally challenged people, was amazing. So much so that I saw him build an institution for the mentally challenged. Along with him was my neighbor, Mr. Ishwarbhai Padya, who was also felicitated by Gyani Zail Singh in 2014. So what Ishwar Kaka, he was my neighbor, we used to call him Ishwar Kaka. What he did was that he decided that in his factory, he would hire only the students from Dr. Mehta's place. Even today, the tradition continues.
Wow.
So when I saw Dr. Mehta, he was such a gentle soul. There was no noise about him. I always thought, when I grow up, I should be like him.
Wow.
And that is when I decided that, yes, I might take up medicine as a career.
So that is quite a strong choice, and I think the story of you becoming a doctor is so beautiful. It started with such a beautiful purpose. But becoming a doctor often requires a lot of discipline, a lot of sacrifice. What kept you motivated during this difficult phase?
So, when I joined medical college, anatomy department head was Dr. Kher. Okay. He called us and he said, just answer a few questions. What is the question? How many people are required as attendees in a marriage? Okay, count. So the bride, the groom, the parents, and maybe others. So the rest of you are all noise. You don't want to be noise in your life. So please understand that your social life is already gone. Okay? What you call sacrifice was actually fun. Because when you decide that you like your work and you're using it like a hobby, you enjoy it. So sacrificing Saturday nights, going to movies wasn't a big sacrifice in student days.
Yeah. So a lot of our personal decisions frame the pathway of our life. You chose to be independent during this period, and what shaped that choice, and how do you feel about it today, looking back?
I'm a very independent person. You just said that. And I like to make my decisions on my own. So I needed a person, if at all I decided to choose one, who would help me keep me in my independence and not all try to control me.
Yeah.
In my medical work, I have liked to do research. I like to travel, go to conferences. And with a partner in tow or children in tow, that would have been difficult.
Yes.
When I went for my international training, I was there for some time. So then those things become hindrances. Though I know many women who manage to do all this even with a family. I thought that I would not be able to do it. And therefore I decided to remain independent.
And now looking back at it, how important do you think it is for seniors, especially women, to live life on their own terms?
I think it is very important because to live life without any social ties which are compelling and also asking you to bend to the social needs rather than have your own choices in front of you is very important.
Yes. And today, what does a fulfilling day look like for you?
I have a lot of travel to do.
Wow.
And when I travel, I also have to give lectures. When I give those lectures, I have to prepare for them. So that is what a fulfilling day looks like.
Wow.
Another thing that when I was working at the KEM hospital, I was also the editor of the Indian Journal of Gastroenterology. Now that was a parallel journey in itself. While I was a doctor, I also learned to do research and to do some writing. And writing meant having your English perfected.
Yes.
So all that gave a different kind of experience. And today also, I continue to do these things.
Wow.
And as editor, I had to write my research. So that was, the extra time out of your day's work was that. So today at work, I see patients, of course, that's my job. But I also read, because when I go to a conference, I want to be informed. So when I go for a conference, I want to have adequate knowledge of all recent advances.
Yeah.
I cannot be seen as failing those things.
Yeah.
So that is why I have to read and keep up to date.
Yeah.
So that is the second part.
And when we read research, we're exposed to a lot more information that the generic population wouldn't be too exposed to. What did learning all of that teach you in terms of moral lessons? Did that have any impact on who you are as a human being?
100%. That was also trained me to be a good teacher.
Yeah.
Because you see, the students today are far better read, because that is their job to read, than you. So you can't be seen as anything inferior to them. And therefore, when you teach them, you want to know whatever they know. But it's always good if you had 50, 60 students behind you. Each of them teaches you a lesson in its own way.
With age, a lot of people feel that their grasping power goes down, and being exposed to young students as a professor obviously challenges you to another limit, because they have a lot more time to dedicate, and sometimes they must be more active in terms of being updated with online information. So how do you keep up with the younger generation? Do you feel like there's any sort of gap, or do you relate to them?
There will always be a gap. So the gap in knowledge is more from what they read as advanced stuff. What we have is experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so when they come up with new ideas, the ideas are always welcome because that is new.
Yeah.
And that is how research starts in the world. But then that little wisdom to tone down those ideas and not to take bad ideas is always a good thing. So there is a lot of research, as you just said, in the market. Reading it is impossible.
Yeah.
Nobody can read everything.
Yeah.
And when they read specific items, we realize that they want to see a particular part of that research, whereas we are looking at it in a holistic manner.
Yeah.
So that matters, but at the same time, you learn a lot.
Yeah. And now looking back at your own journey when you were a younger version of yourself and just starting off in your career, obviously education is one crucial part of the journey, but also starting to work with real people, being a doctor. How did it feel when you were settling into your profession, and what wisdom do you have today that you'd share with your younger self?
Aging makes you wiser.
Yeah.
Okay. Course. It also makes you slower to react. Okay. React to emergencies. React to sudden changes in what happens around you.
Yeah.
So that is something that aging does. And that makes you more mature. And the more you learn, the more mature you become. The more you realize that there is a lot more to learn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's no end to learning.
There is no end to learning. And if you look at it in one way, the more you learn, the more you want to learn.
Yeah.
And your brain has the capacity. Our brain hardly uses 10% of its capacity in any day. So you see how much of our brain is lying idle.
Yeah.
We can definitely do a lot more.
Yeah. And a lot of people feel anxious at times about aging, and they have this fear that they've created for themselves. Do you think aging has had that sort of effect on you personally? And what advice would you give to people to overcome such fears?
I think I'll go back to childhood again. You know, when you're a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, you look at your mother,
Yeah.
you look at the people around you, you look at your senior cousins, and you want to be like them, right? Whatever they are doing, whether it was good, bad, right, wrong, you want to be like them. So at that time, you wanted to grow to 18 so that you could do many things. But when you're 18, that is over. And then suddenly at the age of 30, people want to become younger. Now, I never had that feeling.
Great.
And I think I just went from one phase to another very smoothly. I didn't have any such problems. When I was at KEM Hospital and I retired in 2019, after that, I was at another place in Harkisan Das Hospital. During COVID, that was the difficult part because at that time there wasn't much work. And we all are so used to work that sitting at home was difficult.
Yes. I think sitting idle in a doctor's life is something that you wouldn't have predicted or seen coming. But I think the way the doctors of the nation, of the city, have served us during COVID is truly commendable, because handling such a large population is very difficult, I think. And being able to do that, we thank you for being one of those doctors during that time. And now, speaking from a doctor's point of view, what is one healthy habit that seniors should never ignore? What do you think they should keep doing?
One, they should not be lonely. Okay? Loneliness is the biggest disease today because loneliness then leads to many other problems. When you're lonely, you don't think of yourself. You start thinking of things around you, that I'm lonely, I don't have anybody. But that is a mindset that people should not have. You have your friends, you have your companies, you have a family. Somewhere or the other, there is a family. I think keeping connect with them is very important. The second thing is have friends with whom you can watch movies, which you can have fun, whether they are your own group like medicos, non-medicos. Play with children. You know, it's the biggest thing on earth. It's so much fun playing with children. The second thing is a healthy habit. Healthy habits are two. One is food, and the other thing is exercise. I tell my patients is stay away from processed foods, and especially ultra-processed foods. Now, what is ultra-processed food? So if we look at the items of the foods that are there, and you look at their ingredients, ready-made foods, you will find certain items which are never in your kitchen. So a good tip to everybody is that avoid foods or condiments that are not readily available in your kitchen. And that means you're really cooking from scratch. That makes it a very healthy diet. But take care of your diet, because as we age, we think that a small amount of food is sufficient. But we really go wrong with proteins. Now, as a vegetarian, I can say that it's very difficult for us to maintain the protein intake because there are very few items that have lot of proteins. Okay. On the other hand, if a person is non-vegetarian, they should have a significant amount of maybe chicken or fish or eggs, but stay away from red meats because those are a little heavy to digest.
And being a gastroenterologist, a lot of seniors would be hesitating to come to you about digestive and health issues. You know, it's a topic that people don't like to openly talk about as much. So what advice would you give them? What do you have to say about the matter?
So the food is the main driver. Okay, keeping your food healthy and not eating junk is the main driver. And GI diseases quite often occur because of wrong foods. Okay, so therefore they should just maintain a healthy diet.
Okay.
And they should also have their supplements. The main thing about supplements would be, they should ask their doctor, of course, but the main things would be like calcium, iron, multivitamins. They should have them regularly. Importantly, we have now realized that as we age, we are also likely to get a lot of infectious diseases. So therefore, vaccinations are very important. Vaccinations for, say, herpes, pneumonia, influenza are very important in old age.
And besides your medical career, I think you're someone who's very active in society, loves giving back to the community. So you've taken up many leadership posts, and that would really inspire people watching, because even at this age, I think with the wisdom you've gained over the years, being able to guide people is something that's very important. And what sort of guidance would you give to someone who'd want to enter that path?
People around you is the best thing. Staying alone is not good. Many years ago, I joined Rotary.
Yeah.
Okay, Rotary is a great organization, and we have a lot of networking. So you meet new people, you enjoy with them. At the same time, we do what are called as projects. Projects means helping someone. It may be in the hospital, it may be in the society, it may be on the road, whatever it is, we just help people. So it may be in vaccinations that we help. But Rotary is a great organization. So I took up Rotary, and then I became president of the Rotary Club of Mumbai Malabar Hill.
Wow.
That happened during COVID. So though we could do a lot of work, we were limited in our networking applications. We could not have too many parties because we couldn't meet. But yes, we did a lot given the restrictions of COVID.
And how important do you think it is to have a friend circle and have hobbies at this stage in life?
Hobbies are very important because they are things that you can do when you are alone. It could be gardening, it could be reading, but it helps you do it. So my two hobbies that I really love are, one is reading, the other one is knitting. Because knitting is actually very addictive. You can sit alone, watch television and knit at the same time. Reading, besides giving you entertainment, is also very, very informative.
Yes. And I think you spoke about how you enjoyed traveling and learned a lot from journeys. What would be one key takeaway that you learned being a solo traveler, and what wisdom would you like to share from your travels?
So first, I have rarely been a solo traveler.
Okay.
I have so many friends that I always find someone.
Wow.
Even when I lived abroad, I was, of course, traveling alone at that time. But keep interest, talk to people around you. It helps. Because otherwise, just going and seeing a site, a very beautiful touristic site on your own, doesn't give you much information. So it was always, group travel has its own fun. There are organizations for women also that help single women travel. And people who are alone, men or women, can join such organizations and travel with them, and you actually find new friends.
Wow.
And these friends help you grow your circle wider. The other thing is there are, community activities, which may be religious, which may be societal. They also help to, expand your circle.
Yeah, I think that's what we are trying to achieve through our Sukhada family as well. We're working on creating a social circle across Mumbai. In fact, the Rotary Club also endorsed us with an award and an accolade. And we are trying to help people network through Sukhada. We're trying to create a volunteer network. We show up for people whenever they call. And we also are trying to create a strong sense of community that provides that emotional support through fun activities, by just maybe playing some games that may feel childish to make your inner child alive once again. When you speak about your strength today, does it just mean physical strength, mental strength, or is it even to do with your emotions and regulating your well-being?
I think you're very right. Strength is not just physical strength. It is also emotional, mental, and everything. Let me first come to physical strength. We have to be strong enough to be able to walk around ourselves without any help.
Yes.
Okay, we need to be able to climb a few stairs at least, if not hike. Okay, and that is the most important thing that people need.
Yeah.
I find that people lose their muscles with age. And when they lose muscle, the moment they fall, there's no reserve in their body that helps them recover. So that is what I mentioned about diet earlier. A healthy diet helps you maintain all this. Now come to emotional and mental strength. That all comes from within. Some people like to be alone, but beyond a particular time, you can't stay alone for a long time. So it's always best to have people around you.
As someone who's chosen independence for themselves but still values relationships with the people around them, what message can you give to women who may feel societal pressure, how to avoid that and be fulfilled by ourselves?
So society pressure that we see is often, should I say, misguided. Okay, we believe that people are always watching us and want to talk about us. What I find is that when I go around, 80% of the people don't even care. They're not even looking at you. But we are thinking, oh, they're looking at us and they may be thinking, what have I done wrong? And they're judging us. In fact, they're not even noticing us. So it is better to do what you like within, of course, the realms of society. Meet people, talk to them, talk to children in the garden. I think that gives a lot of happiness by itself. So being single is not a crime. Okay? Sometimes you're left alone because your children have moved on. The joint family concept is almost gone. So you have to be able to look after yourself. And then it's the neighbors and the relatives around you that help. Friends are a very important part of it.
And I think that's where Sukhada as an initiative also stems from. We are noticing the metro shift in our city, from being a very collectivistic society, we're going to an individualistic sort of mindset where people aren't mindful of their elders and the people around them. And we are sorry to see that, but we hope to create a more aware and a more active future generation through Sukhada. And what do you think of such initiatives? Do you think senior citizens need something like this?
Yes, they do. But they need it more from within their own family. Sometimes that's not available. And that's when organizations like Sukhada will help. Because depending on people who are unknown is sometimes difficult. Trusting them is sometimes difficult. So I think, yes, Sukhada has a big role, but first get the confidence of the people whom we are looking at. And that helps a lot.
Yeah. And what kind of spaces do you think seniors truly need? What is your happy place, and what do you look for at this age that gives you solace and peace?
Sitting at home and reading. So I don't go to much television, or I'm not a fancy Insta person. I'm not even on Facebook. So those kind of things actually are not pleasurable to me. But yes, other things are like reading, music.
So in music, do you think that's some sort of escapism for you? Do you think that makes you energetic and makes you more ready to face each day? Do you think it plays an important role?
Music for some time, yes, helps because it takes you away from your stress. So when I talked about knitting, it's the same thing. When you're knitting, you're not thinking of anything else. You're just concentrating on knitting. And that 10 minutes is more than enough.
So focusing your brain
On anything.
on any activity and having various hobbies is what keeps you going, I think. And one life lesson that you would like to share with the senior citizens watching today, any incidents that shook you in life and you grew from those incidents, is there anything that you'd like to share?
Okay, let me put, about 10 years ago, okay, I was climbing to Vaishno Devi. Okay, I had a very bad knee. So much so that I was scared to sit on a low chair because I was not sure whether I would be able to get up. It was at this time that I met a 90-year-old lady who had severe Parkinsonism. We were together at a family function. And when we were going to the hotel, we were on the 3rd floor. So because of my knee problem, I stood waiting for the lift. And she told me, you wait for the lift, I'm climbing up. At 90. She had Parkinson's. So when I saw that, I said, oh my God, my knee needs help. So when I went to my room, actually she came into my room first and she said, I am a physiotherapist. She advised me 2 things. 1, change your shoes and exercise. It's more than 10 years now. And I took exercise as the sole thing that helps me. And in so many years, it's the physiotherapists and my trainers who have helped me to get where I am today, physically.
Yes.
I thank that lady for having shown me the right path to correct exercise and including the correct type of shoes that I should wear.
Yeah. And I think your Buaji was your inspiration, and you're going to be the inspiration for many more seniors here today. And sometimes people, on the other hand, are also ignorant of their changing body and don't want to accept that something's new, something's not the same, you know. So what sort of mindset do you suggest that they should adapt?
So the one advice that I would give all seniors is don't ignore your health. You know, people get into this mindset that it's okay, I'm fine, I'm already 60 years old. It's okay if I feel a little weak. It's okay if my knees pain a little bit. It's okay if my hand pains. But that's not right. Why should your hand pain at the age of 60? There's nothing wrong with you physically. And unless there is a disease, even these small things should be tackled as soon as possible. Okay, which is why health is the most important thing that we want to have with ourselves.
And how do you think people should accept their changing body? You know, they're not going to remain the same over the years. So how has your own experience been from being a young woman to growing up and being more mature? Was there any change that you found difficult to deal with? And if so, how did you overcome that?
So one of the things you find difficult to deal with, especially after your retirement, is your work pattern. Because when you are working at a public hospital, you're seeing 50 to 100 patients a day. And then when you go into practice, the numbers have fallen. You don't have so many students who are around you to do all the groundwork, and you are at a leadership position. So when you start private practice, you kind of have to do everything yourself. Okay? But then you have to learn. Because if you don't accept that, then there is a problem. But I continue to teach. I continue to train students who come to me. I continue to give them ideas for research. And that itself gives me happiness now.
From a medical perspective, in a scientific sense, what changes do you observe in the female and the male body that happen with age?
So as we age, our intestines maybe become a little different. So as we age, many people tend to develop constipation. Now the reason they develop constipation may not be because of the intestine, but because we tend to eat softer foods. Why do we eat softer foods? Sometimes it's because our dentition is not proper. Okay? And because of such things, the intestines kind of change. The stomach becomes a little, should I say, fussy. Okay? As kids, I remember people used to say in Hindi, lakkad hajam, patthar hajam. At the age of 50, I think that's a little difficult. You go out, eat, come back, and you have a nasty upset in the stomach. So obviously it's difficult. So some foods we need to keep away from. One of them is processed junk foods. For all seniors, and that is, we talk in gastroenterology of a thing called as alarm symptoms. Even if it is just burning in the chest for the first time at an older age, go to a doctor. Because a new symptom without previous symptoms may mean that this is a serious disorder. And especially if this is associated with, say, bleeding, or there is associated severe pain or a swelling somewhere, or there is weight loss. If there is sudden weight loss in an elderly person, I would say that some disease needs to be ruled out.
And I think a lot of times people neglect going to a doctor, try to push it away for as long as they can. And like you rightly said, when there's some sort of alarm, when your body indicates to you that something's different, I think it's essential to seek medical help.
Absolutely.
And that is something that everyone should take away from this discussion that don't ignore your body, don't treat it like some object that needs to keep working the same way. I think embracing the change is the best way to go
Absolutely.
ahead. As we are discussing Sukhada today, what is one thing that brings sukh or happiness to your life?
Reading, listening to music, and playing with children.
Wow. So what are your special areas of interest in gastroenterology specifically?
My special area of interest is something that we call as functional gastrointestinal disorders. Now, what are these disorders? So, let's say a person has difficulty in swallowing. The first test that anybody would do would be an endoscopy. They would do blood tests. They might do a CT scan. And if they don't find any abnormality there, we would say that this is something to do with the function of the food pipe that is abnormal. Okay. In the same way, in the intestines, people talk about irritable bowel syndrome. Now, that's a disease again where the tests are all normal, but the intestines are not functioning well. The third one is what we call as a pelvic floor disorder. Now, let me explain that a little more. You know, normally when we go to the toilet, we spend 5 minutes, clear our intestines and come out. But sometimes there are people who need maybe a few minutes to a few hours and they are still not satisfied. Now, this is where the pelvic floor is slightly abnormal. Now, for all these disorders, sometimes we measure the pressures in the food pipe and in the colon and come out with answers and treatment for such people.
And I think even in your specific field, you've taken up a lot of leadership positions, and a lot of people wouldn't be aware of such opportunities. So if you can educate us a bit on that.
When I was the head of the department at Gastroenterology in KEM Hospital, I had taken up a large national level study on gastroesophageal reflux disease and find out what is the prevalence. So after that, I have been advising all the bodies on gastroesophageal reflux disease. The second thing is that recently I was elected as the president-elect of the Indian Society of Gastroenterology. Wow. I'm only the second woman president in a society that's more than 60 years old.
Wow, I think this is a true manifestation of women in scientific fields, in STEM specifically. And I think you have inspired a lot of women, a lot of men watching this today. Thank you for sharing so much insightful information with us today. I hope this will be a good guiding point for maintaining well-being and good health to all of our Ajis and Azobas watching. And just to maintain the sweetness and happiness in your life, we have a small gift hamper from Avarya Sweets.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zara.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure coming here today.
Thank you. And this is the gift of good health from Critica Asia Hospital and Sukhada. क्योंकि डॉक्टर को भी तो हेल्थ मेंटेन करना पड़ता है. And we know you're there every day, but this is a gift of maintaining your well-being from our side.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.